Welcome to the Humanities Team podcast with me, Steve Farrell. Humanities Team is an international spiritual movement whose purpose is to communicate and demonstrate the timeless truth that we are all one, with the divine and all life, caring for each other and the world we share, so that people's actions reflect this profound understanding within our generation. We believe that living this truth is essential to resolving the most chronic and acute world challenges and vital to creating a flourishing world of peace, harmony, and happiness. We offer transformative education programs in personal and spiritual development, and we host an annual event called Global Oneness Day. Similar to Earth Day, which galvanized the global environmental movement, Global Oneness Day has become a catalyst for spiritual activism and an integral part of the present-day global oneness movement, which represents a profound new paradigm in human culture. Humanities Team is the only global nonprofit organization working in transformational education. Since we are a nonprofit, there is no focus on growing profits or satisfying shareholders, and 100% of all revenue goes toward our work supporting conscious evolution, planetary awakening, and flourishing at every level of life. If you'd like to learn more about us or want to support our mission directly through donation or volunteering some of your time, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org. And lastly, if you enjoyed this podcast, we'd be grateful if you'd leave us a review.
Hi, I'm Steve Farrell, co-founder of Humanities Team and the Worldwide Executive Director. Thank you to all of you who are gathered with us today for this very special Spiritual Leadership Award ceremony. Today we are giving Gregg Braden our highest award in Humanities Team, our Spiritual Leadership Award. As we begin, Gregg, I'm going to be speaking to you personally. You were the unanimous choice of our Global Council this year, and we are deeply honored you accepted our invitation to receive the Humanities Team 2021 Spiritual Leadership Award. The Humanities Team Global Council is comprised of 55 leaders from around the world. We are very diverse, but we are united in our gratitude for the work you are doing. Gregg, you are unique in the way you touch the world with science and spirituality, and all of your leadership qualities and contributions to the world made you our obvious choice. Normally we fly our award winner to Colorado. Obviously, COVID requires that we do something different this year. And this is only the second time we've created a virtual ceremony. We are now live on Zoom and broadcasting on Facebook, so we've got a great crowd gathered. We've all been looking forward to this day when we can be live with you for this very special program. Some of our earlier Spiritual Leadership Award members include Neil Donald Walsh in 2003, Abriel of Rouge in 2008, Archbishop Desmond Tutu in 2009, Andrew Harvey in 2010, Immaculée Ila-Begiza in 2011, Barbara Marx Hubbard in 2013, Nelson Mandela posthumously in 2014, Michael Beckwith and Ricky Byers in 2015, Ken Wilber in 2016, and Marianne Williamson in 2020. You are the 12th recipient of this special award. Your contributions to humanity over your entire career have inspired a seismic shift in the global conversation. And your spiritual leadership is helping to steer us in a healthier, more empowered, and more compassionate direction. For over 3 decades, you've been a leader in bridging science, spirituality, and the real world. Your books, workshops, and courses have inspired us to take courageous action in civil society, business, government, and social outreach. Your work involves problem solving and reveals deep insights into our origin, our potential, and how these understandings inform the policies underlying everyday life and the emerging world. You have presented at the United Nations and in front of diplomats, indigenous leaders, religious leaders, military personnel, and many more. You have been honored as a pioneer who is awakening, inspiring, and empowering humanity, a forward thinker who catalyzes positive change through mediums such as talks, books, research, and courses. And you've chosen to share your messages through film, contributing to the rising and ever-powerful conscious evolution movement. To date, your research has led to 15 film credits and 12 award-winning books now published in over 40 languages. The United Kingdom's Watkins Journal lists you among the top 100 of the world's most spiritually influential people for the 11th consecutive year. And you are a 2020 nominee for the prestigious Templeton Award, established to honor outstanding individuals who have devoted their talents to expanding our vision of human purpose and ultimate reality. Gregg, you are respected on every continent and by every faith tradition, and you use your prominent platform to address the many challenges we face, promote empowerment, and demonstrate the power of love. We are so happy to have you here with us today. I'd now like to share some background with you about the Humanities Team Spiritual Leadership Award you are receiving. To begin, I'd like to share the purpose of the award, which is to highlight and acknowledge the individual who makes a life-changing spiritual impact on the world, on how we view ourselves, God, life, and one another, and who in doing so reminds humanity of who we really are. We are all one with the divine, each other, and all of life, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. All recipients of the award demonstrate certain characteristics of a spiritual leader, and you are certainly one who embodies these. I'd like to read these characteristics to you now as they apply to you. Demonstrates through his life clarity about his truth, about who he is, his relationship with the universe, all of life, and the other, and courageously announces himself. As such, the person is eager to express himself, to connect with a common goal, and to create whatever is needed to get the job done. Has the ability to agree with another about one another. This important quality allows for a larger understanding among humans about themselves and the world out there. As such, this person realizes that we are not each other's enemies, we are not each other's obstacles, and we are not even each other's competitors. We are each other. This person is able to see past the illusions we create about ourselves and the other, commits to and is determined to see the world in a new way. He is radically honest in telling the whole truth in a loving and compassionate way. The person understands that to agree with one another requires a constant inner discipline that suspends judgment, realizes that we are all part of universe, God, an expression of divinity, has the ability to align with another, realizing and honoring the idea that all of humanity shares the same desires. He manages to find the harmonious spot, which is our highest aspiration and grandest dream, which is our inner agenda, and reveals and expands it, concurrently transforming all outer agendas. Therefore, this person knows what he wants and shares it with others, incorporating good listening and communication skills. In doing so, the person has fun and brings joy to life, sees himself as a part of universe/God, life, and all of the other, as part of the universal family, interrelated, interconnected, and interdependent. In this instance, the person recognizes that the other person is I and raises the level of consciousness of humanity to awareness that universe, God, is us. Through the realization of oneness, the person is no longer concerned with personal dramas and suffering, but with the dramas and suffering of others. The person's true compassion for self and for others, and his thoughts and feelings are expressed through action. Knowing that the process of life is circular and the person knows that all healing is universal. Lives the truths he believes in. Through his innate desire to stay in touch with his highest beliefs, he shares it with others. Most importantly, the person's life is a courageous expression of these truths, no matter what. Is visible and commits to being free. This person allows himself to be free from false thoughts about himself, about others, and about universe, God. He realizes that to really make a difference and help others requires stepping up and speaking out, so that the world can see him and know that he has found a deep understanding about universe, God, and life. As such, this person is willing to be and feel uncomfortable, always reviews his own beliefs, and speaks the messages of hope. This person's very life is his message and teaching. He touches lives by his example, is committed to being a leader and not connected with the outcomes. This person leads the journey in his own unique and authentic way by showing and being the way, reminding others who they really are, regardless of the outcomes. His life is a continuous act of self-definition and an expression of the next grandest version of the greatest vision he holds about who he is. Continuously asking, what would love do now? Picking the highest thought in any given moment and living it. Being a spiritual leader, this person leads others back to themselves, returning to those whose lives he touches to the most wonderful idea they ever dared to hold about themselves, reminding them how wonderful they are, leading humanity's spirit back to the highest place it can go. Being a spiritual leader, the world is better place through this person. He produces astonishing outcomes in the world, knowing that eternal survival is always assured and given. He declares a whole different set of truths, creating a whole different set of experiences and functions within a whole different reality. Being a spiritual leader, this person is the change he wishes to see in the world, walks in truth, love, and light, and allows others to walk and be their own truth. Deals with disappointment and redefines failure. In doing so, the person embraces adversity and accepts it wholly. He faces disappointment and obstacles in astounding ways that heal the world. Staying in touch with his inner guidance, disappointment is seen as a signal from the soul that he's being directed back on his course where he really wants to go. This making it possible for the person to live life in a new and powerful way. He is the master of his own destiny through the use of feelings as a tool of creation, knowing that feelings can be chosen and changed. Instead of rejecting life, he accepts and embraces what is as the grandest blessing in life and the vehicle to the next best choice as a bridge. Failure is nothing but an illusion and success in disguise. Failure is a cause for celebration and encouragement. He does not only know this for his own life, but for all of life. Is real, practical, and active. The spiritual leader understands what is really true for him in any given moment. He tells the truth and puts it on the ground in a practical way. Now, realizing that what is not true and now is pointless. Therefore, he is congruent, open, and consistent, and fully response-able. He does what works. Never takes no for an answer. Refusing to take no for an answer, the strength and the power of a spiritual leader. He realizes that in a very large sense, there is only one world in God's vocabulary, yes. Yes, we are all part of the universe, God, and therefore he is able to say, yes, I am that. The spiritual leader lives a life that is concerned with the larger picture and purpose of everything, and is the one who is in charge of his own life, and not another person, organization, authority, or exterior source. This person sees the world as it could be. He dreams of things that never were and asks, why not? He sees things as he wishes them to be, and by the power of his vision transforms them. In committing to saying yes, the person lives a life of deep gratitude. Those then are the characteristics of a spiritual leader demonstrated by all recipients of our award. Gregg, you are all of these things and more. We are very grateful to be presenting you with our 2021 Humanities Team Spiritual Leadership Award. Thanks so much for being here with us today, and thank you for your many contributions to an awakened world.
Steve, I'm just basking in the glow of the powerful and the heartfelt words that you just shared. And one of the first things that came to me is I wish I had heard those words 50 years ago as I was formulating what my journey would look like. It would have probably saved me a lot of heartache. But Steve, I just can't tell you just how honored I am, of course, to be the recipient of this award this year. I'm in such good company of those who have preceded me. And I'm humbled by the receipt of this beautiful award. And we haven't practiced. This isn't. We haven't really practiced what we're doing, Steve. Can I share this award? Can I show our audience what the award looks like, and then say a few words?
That'd be great, please. Thank you.
I'm not sure how it's going to come out on the camera, because we were doing this virtual. The award was sent to me, FedEx, and so I have to show you. I mean, the packaging is beautiful unto itself. So here's the packaging that the award came in. And I'm going to lift it out, and I'll see if I could hold it up to the camera. It is a heavy leaded crystal of this beautiful world of ours between open palms. And I don't know if you can read what it says on the bottom. Steve, can you read? I'm going to hold it up. I'm going to hold it up against the black background and make it a little bit easier.
See, I can. Humanities Team Spiritual Leadership Award, Gregg Braden 2021.
And it is going to hold a prominent place on the bookcase in the room where I do my creative work and I do my writing. Steve, this is just such a powerful day. You know, when things like this happen, no one ever knows precisely what's happening in the lives of other people. And I know that this has been a tough year for a lot of people. It's been a tough year for me. Having lost my mom earlier in the year, I'm recovering more than completely from COVID myself. And Gregg 2.0 is launching today with the receipt of this award and the reminder of all of the principles that are so foundational in my life, Steve. And I have to tell you, when I learned that I was the nominee for this, or that the award would come to me, I don't think of myself as a leader. And I'll share with you why. Because not a leader in a traditional sense. My sense of a leader is an individual that can inspire other people to become the best versions of themselves. And in that sense, I think we all do this to some degree in our lives. As parents, we do it for our children, we do it for our coworkers, we do it for our peers, our colleagues, our families. And I can't imagine another way of living other than sharing what I have found to be true. Truthful, honest, factual revelations about the deepest truth of who we are and what our potential is in the world. And if that sharing truly inspires other people to become the best versions of themselves, then that is what this kind of leadership is all about. It's a very different kind of leadership that people would typically think of in a corporate world, for example. Spirituality, to me, is a word that I've found, Steve, that means different things to different people. And for many people early in my journey, what I discovered is that they wanted to keep spirituality in a box. So they would do their spiritual things, and then they would go about doing the rest of life. And the idea of crossing those traditional boundaries that we talked about in the pre-program, the traditional boundaries of the sciences that have always been separate, chemistry separate from biology, separate from geology, separate from physics, and spirituality has always been separate from all of those things. I was blessed, privileged, and fortunate early in my adult life to spend a tremendous amount of time with indigenous people from all over the world, from the highlands of central China and Tibet to the shamans in the Andes Mountains of southern Peru, and the shamans in the Yucatan of Mexico, all through the American desert Southwest, the Bedouin in Egypt, Nepal, India, and many more. And as different as those traditions were from one another, the common denominator that I found that helped their lives to be successful, Steve, was that they didn't compartmentalize their lives the way that I had been trained as a scientist to do. So they didn't compartmentalize and separate spirituality from everything else. And Once I recognized that and I began to apply it in my own life, what I found is every moment of our lives is a spiritual experience. At its deepest level, the spirituality is about relationships. Our relationship to ourselves, to God, to the cosmos, to our friends, our neighbors, our family, to the earth, to the future, to the past. It's all about relationships. So for me, I think it made sense. It wasn't a quantum leap. It was a logical progression that made sense to marry spirituality into every facet of my life. And as I did that from the perspective of a scientist, the science was revealing new ways of thinking about ourselves that even deepened that sense of spirituality. And one of the things that you just shared, Steve, I'll be brief here. One of the things that you just shared was, for me, I think, one of the most powerful principles that I learned, and it's the idea of failure and success. We are so conditioned to see our lives and our accomplishments through this lens of failure and success. And what I discovered from these indigenous traditions was that whenever a man or a woman in an indigenous community says, yes, I will pursue this endeavor, if they pursue the endeavor to the best of their ability and give it all that they have, it's impossible to fail until their accomplishment is compared to something else. And once I recognize that and I ask myself, what am I comparing my accomplishments in my life to? And I began to share that with our audiences. It was one of the most powerful principles, Steve, that freed people from this idea of success and failure to simply expressing the best version of ourselves. So if my work and my sharing and the science and discoveries can truly inspire other people, and has in the past, to become the best version of themselves, then I'm deeply grateful for this recognition of that lifetime endeavor. And I have to tell you, you've just sparked me so much to want to begin the new projects and the new books and all the new things that have been percolating over the last year or so. So as soon as we finish here, I'm off to new projects. But I want to thank you, Steve. I want to thank you, Humanities team, for all of the thought and the consideration, the deeply meaningful words that you have just shared with me. And today is a day for me to receive. It's hard for me sometimes. And I'm open and receptive, and I'm receiving now all the love and all the care, all the support, all the joy that's coming my way. And for that, I'm deeply grateful, Steve. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome, and you're so worthy of this award, Gregg. Boy, what a special moment. We'll remember this one 10, 20 years from now. Let me just say a few more things, and then I know people are gonna their comments coming in. People may want to raise their hand and come on camera. So we're gonna go back to community here, where we all are kind of right now, where we're virtually sitting in this big global circle with you, Gregg, just honoring you here during this special moment. But let me add a little more here. Gregg and I actually back in the 80s and 90s had an intersection. We didn't know each other, but we were actually right in each other's same world. We were Silicon Valley guys. And Gregg was the very first technical operations manager for Cisco Systems, which is this huge, they make these digital communications products, routers and bridges and switches, all kinds of things. And it's just this huge global organization. At that time, it was a teeny little startup in Silicon Valley. And likewise, I'd left IBM at this time. I'd started a digital communications company. They're located, I actually lived very close to, we were within miles of each other, didn't know each other. And I was working with Cisco because what my company was doing is we were helping all of the gaps and esprits and AAA of California is these, even Apple Computer, we were helping them digitize their communication systems so that they could bring their voice and data together across their campuses and then connect their campuses across the world. So we were selecting the best technology platforms to support our customers. And so I kind of grew up with Cisco. I started also just as with a partner, two guys with used furniture in an executive suite. And then we actually grew into a very, very substantial company. And Cisco was a huge partner as we were growing during these years. Now, so Gregg wouldn't say this about himself, but he could have become a gazillionaire. He was there with those first few hundred people. This has grown into, I'm sure it's over 100,000 people now. And they were giving generous stock options then. I know Gregg still has friends from those days that are gazillionaires. So Gregg walked away from that American dream thing in pursuit of the truth, all of these things that we just shared. So just wanted to bring that in. Now, I want to bring in one other thing as well, which is that our mission in Humanities Team, is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide in the next 20 years. And because we don't have another planet, most of us aren't billionaires that want to go live on Mars. And even if we were billionaires, I'm not sure we'd want to go live on Mars. This is our home, the Earth. And so we'd like to create a sustainable and flourishing planet. And of course we can do that. We can do that just by becoming conscious ourselves and becoming living invitations to others. And then with people all over the world, and we have a global community here with us today, where we just hold hands and hearts and we create that, we manifest that together. Now, what Gregg's teachings are doing is just that. He's a living invitation to conscious living. So at this moment that, and I'm not being dramatic here, the most pivotal moment in the history of this planet, and I think we probably all can feel that's true. Many even would say there's an existential crisis today that, our kids and future generations may not have much of a home here at all, if we don't make this pivot. So it's this very challenging moment where we really need to now make this pivot to living consciously. And at this moment that is so important, Gregg is standing up and saying, we can do this. There's a way. All we need to do is kind of step in to see our past as something different than it was. Our future is glorious possibility. Gregg, of course, has his own words for describing these things. But he's standing here in this pivotal moment saying, we can do this. Let's do it. Let's do it together. And so, boy, such an important leader that Gregg is. And we honor you, Gregg, and so grateful that you're here with us. And I'll say one other thing. We mentioned earlier, Gregg and Nassim have created a program actually with us. We're just next week on 11/11, Thursday 11/11 at 5 p.m. Pacific. Gregg and I will be coming back on live. It's an hour-and-a-half program. And the program is, these are my words, not Gregg's, but it's not, we create really special, powerful programs. This one is different. The term I use is it's a Galileo moment. And if you know, Galileo got into quite a bit of trouble in his day because he said, the sun actually is not the center of the universe, that we're actually out on the periphery of the universe. And that got him in a good deal of trouble. And it was a good while before he was recognized for the truth of his cosmology and science that he brought forward. Well, now, likewise, Nassim Harriman and Gregg Braden are just bringing out this research. It's actually based on, there's some research Nassim is bringing out here just in the coming months, a unified field theory. And then this work that Gregg's doing that merges with it really beautifully, and that is saying, look at our past, look at who we really are, that we actually are deeply interconnected, that we're one. Gregg Nassim will say, we're one. So that science is what this new program's about. and hopefully they won't be treated like Galileo. Hopefully instead the earth will want to give them a hug and embrace them for this important science. So it's next Thursday, 11/11. It starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. There's an hour-long program where you'll see Greg and I together, and then we're going to both come on live to talk about this science. And I think secretscientificdiscoveries.com is where you could register for that. So, okay, so let's come back here to, I know there's just a flood of things that people want to share, in comments and on camera and so on. And let's have some fun here and get to things. And Dee, if you want to,
Sure.
kind of bring us into stuff.
We have Deborah Myers with her hand up. So Adam, can you help bring her into our room, please? There we go. And Deborah, we need you to share your video and unmute yourself. There we go. Welcome, Deborah.
And thank you and good morning. I am honored to be on screen with all of you, especially Gregg Braden and Steve Farrell. Thank you so much. First off, Greg, I believe I saw you in person with Bruce Lipton in Santa Cruz back in September 2008. That's the date that comes to mind. That's how memorable it is. And it was a key place in the space where I realized that what I was doing in my world needed to reflect in a whole different way, in the sense of merging. And that's the beautiful word you consistently use, is letting go of traditional boundaries. I, by the way, am lucky enough, Dee knows this, that I was recently chosen to be on the Humanities Stream Plus transformational educational program. And I'm thrilled to be a participant in that and excited about bringing this to all of your subscribers about what I do. I'm an acupressurist and Jin Shin Jitsu practitioner. And Greg, I am consistently blown away by your thoughts, by your beliefs, by what you bring to the world. I really don't have a question so much as a major thank you for all you have done in the world and what you bring to all of us. I'm just, again, reflecting back to that time in Santa Cruz. I went to a whole different place, a whole different space of realizing that what I get to do in my world is reflected because of someone like you who has opened up the pathways. You and Bruce and all the others who've just managed to step away from traditional and allow those of us who might have been a little bit of fearful to say, I'm not going to be in fear. I'm going to step into the freedom of the possibilities. And that's it. That's what you brought.
Wow.
And I thank you.
Oh, Deborah, thank you so much. It's good to hear those things today. And if I remember, if I remember correctly, it was a church in Santa Cruz.
Yes.
And I remember because it was very warm. It was a very warm summer day, and Bruce and I were invited to share that program together. The purpose of that program and what we all do, we've asked science to tell us who we are. And science is actually doing a really good job of revealing the deepest truths of our existence. The problem is not everyone likes the answers.
Exactly.
But they are based upon peer-reviewed principles. And what Bruce, myself, and many of our colleagues do is we're simply bringing into the forefront the discoveries that are not being shared in the mainstream. You won't see them in mainstream classrooms, mainstream textbooks, mainstream documentaries. We're teaching our young people obsolete science based upon false assumptions. And then we're asking our young people to solve the problems that we are leaving to them with the same thinking that created the problems that we're leaving to them. It makes no sense at all. So my sense has always been, when the facts are clear, our choices become obvious. When we have a hard time making decisions and we don't know what to do, it's usually on a personal level, a social level, or a global level. Typically, it's because we don't have all the information. Well, what's changed is the technology now is revealing that information. And we are sharing a new human story that goes beyond human to the earth and to the cosmos. And it's a very, very different way of learning. And this is what Steve was referring to, Nassim and I. Most people don't associate Nassim Harmon and myself because we don't do a lot of public work together. We've known one another since the early 90s. And we have actually a module in the course where we talk about the cafe where we met and what happened the day that we met. But both of us are sharing the new discoveries that change the way we think and feel about ourselves. So thank you for acknowledging what that has meant to you in your life. Thank you for being in Santa Cruz 2008 in that little church with Bruce and I. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work you're doing to make this world.
I appreciate that. And
yeah,
just like I said, I'm merging Eastern and Western medicine in a sense that, tradition says you can't do both, but you can. You can help people step out of their modes and say, this is an option. This is a choice. And I get to make I get to have the opportunities to see what is available to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what life is allowing for the choices. And that's why I'm so excited about being part of Humanity's Stream Plus, is because it was an opportunity. And that was a fluke, if you will, or at least it felt like it to me. Oh. And I am honored to be part of this group. And thank you, Gregg, for everything you've done to the world.
You're very welcome. Thank you. No flukes. No flukes.
No flukes
I think
I
think it's perfect timing. But thank you for the work that you do. We appreciate
it. Thank you.
Deborah, you're part of the vanguard. So thank you. Thanks for coming on camera.
Check out my program. See what happens.
Yeah, we will. And expressing so beautifully. Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you. We have another.
Just all these well-deserved acknowledgments, Gregg. Boy, we could
Steve,
bask for a week in the glow here with
you. Steve, I want to go back to where you were saying about Cisco. When I left Cisco, are you telling me if I stayed with Cisco, I could be a bajillionaire right now?
I'm sure.
No.
Oh my gosh.
I have to tell you, honestly, it was a good decision. I didn't think it through very well. And I took the money that I got from Cisco. I bought some property in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. And it happened, and this is no accident, it happened in the high desert. I happened to move to that place during the coldest ever recorded winter. Temperatures were 52 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. The tires on the vehicles were breaking because they were so brittle. And the property that I bought was a rural property that only had wood-fired stoves. And I burned through that money so quickly that I had no wood to heat the home that I was living in. And I was writing my first book on a little Mac computer. And it was so cold that the lubricants in the Mac were freezing and the computer, wouldn't even work. And it was the first time I went out. It was an old rural farm property, and I chopped down buildings on that property that were goat sheds that were no longer being used to burn in the wood stove so that I could use the computer to write that first book. And if I didn't know that was temporary, I probably would have been pretty disheartened. But I really felt if I could just get through this winter and get this first book out, and that was the first self-published book called Awakening to Zero Point that I wrote. It was in the, I was writing it in the late 80s and published in the early 90s. So it's interesting to think about those times at Cisco and when I left, what I walked into, not having thought it through very well, and how that has charted the course to where we are today.
Yeah, well, boy, thank God you followed your soul's calling. And let me just to back up what I said.
one of the guys that I worked with for Cisco, he was a regional manager, which is, I'll call it a lower level executive. Because what Gregg was heading up was their entire technical operations center for the globe, a huge role. Now, this individual actually became a friend, this regional manager. I'm in Boulder, Colorado. He now lives about 5 miles from me, and he's one of these gazillionaires. Because he just was with Cisco for, 7 or 8 years, and got all these Cisco stock options poured in. And he and his family travel the world, and he was in a much lower level role than Gregg, and he came on much later than Gregg. So I mean it when I say he could have been a gazillionaire. You read about Silicon Valley and the people in the right time in the right place. Well, Gregg, he was like at the pinnacle of that and walked away. So, and thank God that you followed your soul's calling, because we wouldn't be here today, and you wouldn't be all these great contributions that you're making to the world wouldn't be happening. So,
yeah. Steve, thank you for acknowledging that. Means a lot today. Thank you.
If you'd like to receive all of our new podcast episodes, please click on the subscribe button. To find out more about Humanities Team transformational education programs and about how you can help support our mission, please visit us online at humanitiesteam.org, where you can also sign up for our email list so we can let you know about our free online events and other news about what we're up to each week. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review. Thank you.